4 was written by Danai, and I bow. Everything was just so good. Michonne started it all off with, basically, I just find it funny how you said we're going to get out of here together, and then you left me a note on a boat and thought I was just going to go quietly into the night. I'm overall so happy with this episode because I said last time that, like, I love that scene in the alleyway or whatever when Rick said, I said, if you love me, you would go. He did most of the talking, and Michonne didn't say anything because what Rick was saying was so ridiculous. But I said I needed to hear from her, and I hope that we would hear from her in this episode. And of course, we heard from her because Danai wrote the episode, and it was fabulous. Michonne was angry. She was incredulous. She was bleeding, like she said to Rick. She got her heart broken because, like I said, Michonne took such a huge risk to come looking for him. It was reckless. It was dangerous. It was stupid, but also powered by so much love and hope and knowing in her core that Rick is worth it. And this is what she's met with. She's met with just go. She's met with a man who's unwilling to fight. And the man she loves is not a man who's unwilling to fight. Even though she's seen him, a version of that Rick, a tamer version, during the Negan fiasco, but not, when he's been in prison. At least at that time, he was home. He was just accepting a new world order, not accepting being a prisoner. And so I watched the behind the scenes thing where Danai was talking, and she talked about how one of the things Michonne had to do in this episode was she had to become the appropriate vessel to help Rick work through his trauma, which I know he's not done doing. She had to become the appropriate vessel for him to work through it. But first, she had to get past her own major disappointment and hurt and pain and heartbreak. And I'm so happy that she went on that emotional journey of just reacting. Because the thing is, Michonne knows Rick went through things. She assumed like he was held captive. Of course, but I think seeing the consequence of him going through things be in the form of rejecting her, rejecting their family, rejecting their future, rejecting hope. Rick, like I said in the last review or 2 reviews before, is a sack of flesh. And eventually we got to the point where he's able, fights through the fear to say, like, they took Carl, his baby boy. Imagine he kept that boy alive for so long, even if not in timeline form, because I think like the first 6 or whatever seasons are like 1 year. But like in tribulations, he went through a lot with Carl, and the boy survived every time until he didn't. And to picture not being able to remember his face, maybe not even like his voice, can't dream about him anymore, that broke him. And so then he, globbed onto Michonne, last bit of hope, and then he couldn't stop seeing her either. And his fear of like, I cannot do this without knowing I won't lose you. And there's no such thing as knowing you won't lose somebody in the apocalypse. Rick and Michonne are the king and queen of the apocalypse. So for all Michonne knows, both her kids could be dead. Or it could be the case that something happened, because stuff is always happening, and they had to pick up and move from Alexandria. And if that happened, she would have no way of knowing, similar to what happened at the prison. She would have no way of knowing if they were even alive, if they made it out, where they went. Huge risk. And so Michonne, being the person she is, in the midst of this heartbreak, she can't keep trying with Rick. And I'm so happy that the night gave her the words of, "You're hurting me, Rick." Because literally, during one of the earlier scenes, when they were arguing by that like huge window, I thought to myself, because sometimes I'd be imagining dialogue while I'm watching something, her saying, "You're hurting me, Rick." And she did. And it was perfect. And Danai acted it so wonderfully, because that moment where she's like trying to choke back the words, because for her to say, "You're hurting me, Rick," it's like she's getting closer to acceptance. It's almost admitting defeat. That, she's not going to get what she wants. She's not going to get what she expected. So she chokes back the words. And then when she says them, I see and I feel the tiredness that comes over her when she says it. Because like I said, Michonne's not a robot. If Rick keeps this up, she's going to have to turn away because she got kids. And that's what she did in this episode. And then so she's in the hallway and she has a moment of hesitation because she loves that man and she wants him back, but he said what he said. And honestly, if she had gone back, it would have strengthened Rick's resolve to like, I'm doing this for us. And Rick, oh my God, Andy did amazing. That moment of him like hesitating to grab that door handle and go out into that hallway, so perfect. The fear in his eyes, even the blankness, because there are times in the episode, plenty of times where like he's looking at Michonne. You can tell he's feeling, but you can tell there's a wall. He's saying the words like, I love you. I cut my hand off for you. Like, what do you mean this isn't me? I'm doing this for you. All true. But he's not feeling as much as he can feel. There is a wall. There is a blankness in his eyes as he's looking at her because he is trying to remain disconnected from her and from what's happening. When they first reunited, Rick said, I love you, like I promised, we're going to get out of here. But that was pure adrenaline. Before Jadis showed up in his apartment, I think reality was crawling back in, and that conversation with Jadis cemented it, closed everything. So Michonne is reacting for majority of this episode like someone whose heart is cracking, soul is cracking, her face is cracking. And then she leaves, the CRM comes and blows up part of the building. The foundation starts crumbling. And I think that is also symbolism for Rick, because the moment that they bomb the building is when Michonne leaves. And so him being able to separate, like, I'm CRM, dude, and love for Michonne, that separation was beginning to crack. The building starts crumbling. Rick's resolve starts crumbling. And so then the sex happens, and it's beautiful. It's great. I did not expect a panic attack. I actually initially thought he arrived early, which would have been completely understandable. But he has a panic attack, which is such a perfect addition, a perfect like reminder, a perfect like taking care of the Rick character as a writer. You know, she calms him down and, you know, he feels bliss for the first time in years. He's just vulnerable for the first time since he met up with Michonne again, and also since he was taken. He got to be a person during that moment. And then following that, they have the bonding moment where he asked about RJ finally, because it's cracking, it's breaking down. And then afterwards, you know, we realize that he's still on the CRM is the way to go thing. And they have the really heartbreaking, soul-bearing conversation about, because she says also that you're hurting me and it's making me react in a way that I don't recognize, or like, and correct, because throwing them out the helicopters into the open maw of the ocean is some crazy shit. But also her sticking around, because you see she wants to stick around and like fight with him to drag his ass back to Alexandria. That is also crazy because she's got 2 kids she got to worry about. So they took Carl from his memory, his firstborn son, his only child for so long, the kid that he had hopes and dreams for, and he died. He became the Walking Dead. But this episode was a 5 out of 5. My babies are back together. Rick, for right now, is in the sun with Michonne, you know, like Fitz and Olivia. Can't wait for Sunday. Let me know what you thought.